Hey Wales, good morning. It is Monday, August 18th. Hope you guys had a great and fantastic weekend. Let's dive in and go over the top stocks to buy for today. And as always, before we get started, let's jump into our trades so far to see how we're doing. You guys can see for the year, we're doing super well. We're up 89K USD in profit, 59% win rate across the board as well. As you guys know, we only started with 100K at the beginning of this year, so 89K in profits, not too bad overall. We did take trades and close out some trades on DHI as well as Cheesecake Factory last week alongside the Discord group. And again, all the trades posted, everything from Chipotle to Bank of America to Amazon, they're all here, guys, in Discord. So you get the day trade ideas for those that are more active every single day, as well as the swing trade ideas that we're absolutely killing it on. So you get the entries, target, stop losses, everything that you need here to succeed. So yeah, come through. You're going to make so much money with us. We have over 2,000 members here, absolutely killing it. So I look forward to seeing you here. And yeah, the link is in the bio for you to join. Okay, so with that said, let's jump in, guys. So as always, we like to go over multiple different patterns to trade. Essentially, the first one is the inverse head and shoulders pattern / accumulation. These are typically reversal patterns at the low. Buyers are starting to step in, rotation starting to happen. Another one that we love is flags. So bull flags are essentially continuation across uptrend. So we like to buy healthy consolidations to see if it can keep going higher. We like pullbacks as well. So great names that are pulling back into very key support zones. We'll take a look at that. And then finally, the last section, which is the earnings beat. So these are companies that have beat their earnings. So we like to monitor them to see what they're up to see if there's any other key levels that we can get into as well. So with that said, let's jump into the first section, which is the inverse head and shoulders. The first ticker is HSY, which is Hershey Company, guys. Hershey is a great company. You can see that we had a great downtrend over the last couple of years because of how expensive coca was, as well as the tariffs that got hit in place. Now, those two are major catalysts for Hershey Company to continue going down. However, sales are going up. So, we had to sort of see this divergence in play, and I do believe the worst is over. This was the tariff hit. I mean, nothing has sort of can cause such a drop like that, and I do believe the worst is over. So we're starting to accumulate here. You can see the left shoulder, the head, and possibly a right shoulder starting to get put into place within 2026, early 2026. And then if it can sort of reverse, it'll do something like this and actually break to all-time highs in the future here. So I do believe these levels really make sense for at least to take a look at for Hershey Company, 3% dividend yield as well, while you sort of wait out for this accumulation to sort of form. I think it's a great idea here. So keep a lookout for Hershey. Great name to essentially try to go for. Another name that I really like, especially with seasonality coming into play for September, is Coca-Cola, guys. Right, so we're starting to coil out here. Nice wedge formation across the moving averages on a weekly time frame, above the 200 weekly moving average as well. So still a very bullish name here. So I do think Coca-Cola, with its very steady name, can continue pushing up. You can see as well we have a weekly cup and handle formation starting to form as well. So this typically resolves itself higher rather than lower. Another name that is very interesting is Merck & Company. So you guys know for Merck, it's been getting hit hard because of the healthcare industry. However, you can see we had a large downtrend across 2 years, right? And we're starting to move sideways, guys. The market structure shift is starting to move sideways here. So typically what happens, right? You get a downtrend, you move sideways for accumulation, you have a market structure shift and start an uptrend. So that's typically how markets work. So I don't know how long this accumulation is going to last for. It might take many more months, maybe into 2026. But, this level, you're starting to see some buyers starting to defend some low prices here. Buyers are stepping in and continuously trying to, hold these levels. And I do believe it's for a few reasons. The first one is UNH. And we'll go to that later on into the video because I do have UNH as one of the names here. But UNH is at very key levels. You have Oscar Health at very key levels. You have Eli Lilly at very key levels. So sort of the industry is trying to find a strong support here. And I do believe Merck could be an interesting one to keep a lookout for as well. Another name that I like is NextEra Energy. NextEra, you guys know how bullish I am on energy companies because it needs to fuel the overall AI expansion. You guys can see left shoulder, head, right shoulder starting to form, inverse head and shoulders looking pretty strong, Okay, I mean, this is a very beautiful pattern here, guys, right? Solid invalidation level low. You can put your stops underneath 61 if you want to get out of next era, or if you want to hold this for more than a year. Definitely makes sense. Great dividend yield as well. You zoom out to the weekly as well, right? Another inverse head and shoulders starting to form a larger scale. So you have two basic inverse head and shoulder patterns within itself. I think Next Era Energy is a great name, starting to cross over for a golden cross on a weekly as well within the next few weeks. So could be a bullish name to keep a lookout for. Daily is starting to cross for a golden cross here as well. Okay, so you got to keep a lookout for energy names, especially companies like Next Era. Okay, another name that I like is Oscar Health. Now, charts can call for one more lower, guys, something like this before higher, and that's very common across high growth tech names and startups. So I wouldn't be surprised if it does break lower. But if you just take it from face value, right? And you see that the moving averages are holding price. You have the 200 weekly moving average. You have the 50 weekly moving average holding price, starting to accumulate, okay? Not breaking down below this level. Could take a chance. Good risk to reward scenario, in my opinion. You have a high volume node acting as support as well. So for Oscar, makes sense for, you could take a flyer on this one. Stop loss underneath that 1127 level makes sense, or stop loss underneath the 200 weekly moving average could make sense as well. Okay, so accumulation possible on Oscar to go higher here. All right, and then another name is Tesla. Tesla, guys, look at the weekly moving averages, holding price, coiling into some type of triangle pattern here, right? So anywhere around this triangle could resolve itself higher as well. 200 weekly moving average could act as another tranche buy. So you can buy one here, you can buy one there, and you should be good to go on a good average price on Tesla to see if, for the rest of the year you can beat the S&P 500, and then you just rebalance your portfolio next September of 2026 if it doesn't do well, okay? So that's basically another great name. And then one of my key names is Verizon as well. Look at Verizon, guys. Weekly starting to get a golden cross, which means a bullish structure, right? You're starting to get a wedge or sort of a triangle formation forming. Daily looking very strong as well, starting to cross up. So Verizon, great dividend yield, 6-7%. Holding this with accumulation, I mean, that's something that's every investor's dream here. Okay, so you're looking for expansion higher with the golden cross coming on the weekly. Okay, let's keep going. So the next section are the bull flags. So bull flags, again, they're continuation patterns on uptrend. So let's take a look at the first name, which is Cadence Design. So looking pretty interesting here. Look at the daily moving averages. You have a wedge formation starting to form. You have the moving averages starting to catch up to price. Maybe an inflection point on the way, or the 4-hour could act as major support here between the moving average here and here. So this area could be a very interesting starter position for Cadence Systems. Looks pretty good for uptrends higher. What I like about this is that it's consolidating into a tight coil pattern rather than an impulse move down, right? We like consolidation. We like healthy corrections. We don't like massive impulse structures down, okay? So looking pretty interesting. Another one is Coursera. Coursera, look at this bull flag starting to form on the 4-hour time frame, daily time frame. You can see as well, Coursera, it is killing it in terms of its revenues, and it's starting to become a profitable company. So an interesting name on Coursera, using AI to fund and fuel the sort of education sector as well. Okay, so growing EPS, growing revenues, it's very interesting. Not a profitable company as of yet, okay, but something to keep a lookout for. Another name that we like is DoorDash. Look at DoorDash as well, guys. Amazing growth, food delivery giant. All right, and you can see on the 4-hour time frame, starting to look nice, starting to look like a wedge formation. Okay, you also have a 1-to-1 measured move, possible supports coming into play as well here. So that's your measured move. So what a measured move is essentially you're just taking the height and the length of that first correction, and you're applying it to the last pivot high. So you're basically taking the same measured move to get where a possible ratio or Fibonacci level would act as major support. Okay, so looking pretty good on DoorDash if it can come down just a little bit more. Another name, O'Reilly Automotive, guys. O'Reilly is looking pretty strong as well. Look at that beautiful bull flag starting to form across the moving averages, looking pretty interesting. We have Rocket Lab for our next level. Look at the daily, okay? Starting to flag out nicely. Moving averages are starting to push up. You can look for Rocket Lab to continue with this consolidation and see if it can break higher into the future. RTX is the defensive giant, okay? So you can see it's been coiling and it's been consolidating for weeks now, right? So it's resolving itself nicely here. I think could have a good chance of pushing out here in the future. So keep a lookout for RTX. Synopsys, it's a nice semiconductor play here, consolidating nicely, but it is still very far away from the moving average. So there are times where I see nice consolidation. However, because of how far the moving average is, it can impulse down and find support here as well. So if you wanted to get into a name like Synopsys, you can have a starter position there and another position lower if you believe in that name. So it is far away. So keep a lookout for Synopsys. Uranium. So uranium ETF here could be interesting. So you are making a bull flag starting to form, right, on these levels, and possible inverse head and shoulders here if it can find support. But there is another possibility that this turns to a double correction and actually retests something like this and makes more of a larger flag like that, okay? But if you wanted to get into uranium names, because you're well aware of what's happening with uranium, could be interesting to get into some levels around these areas as well, okay? So that, and then finally, XLU. You guys know that I've been bullish on utilities. So, NextEra Energy, Dominion Energy, Centerpoint Energy, all these names, these utility names, they're consolidating nicely here into a potential flag. So if it does sort of, come down to the lower half of this flag, get into some utilities, guys. I'm telling you, energy is looking very strong to continue its uptrend higher. We did break above all-time highs. So what does this mean? This means that it's turning into a bullish sequence. So you can buy the dips now on this bullish sequence, okay? So you're looking for extensions higher. You want to buy the dips on uptrends. All right, so that concludes the bull flags. Let's go over the pullbacks. So these are great names that are pulling back. We want to take a look at sort of interesting levels here. The first one is Berkshire Hathaway. So we've been mentioning about Berkshire actually pulling back here nicely to the moving averages, right? Starting to see a little bit buying momentum, right? So, if you wanted to get into a great name, a great stable company, Berkshire is a name that you want to get into, right? So good starter position there. And if Armageddon happens, you can buy there as well. Another name that I think would be interesting on a pullback, right, is pulling back on a daily here is Caterpillar. So Caterpillar is one of the leaders in the industrial sector. So get into Caterpillar, guys, especially if it comes down to some of these levels. Very bullish name, looking very good. I do believe Caterpillar's a name that you should always have in the future for your stock. Another name is Chipotle. You guys know how bullish Chipotle is on my end. Okay, you can see on the weekly moving averages, every time price has reached the weekly moving average, it's signaled a bottom. It's there already, guys. Okay, so if you want the best fast casual restaurant in the world, you want to go with Chipotle. A lot of international expansion still to come as well. All right, another name, Fortinet, FTNT. Great, cybersecurity name. Look at what happened when it reached the weekly moving averages, signaled a bottom. Okay. So if you want a great cybersecurity name, could be very interesting to get into FTNT. You guys can also see if you take the swing lows to the swing highs, we are at major support areas as well for a measured move. So this could be a great, interesting area for Fortinet. Another name that we like on a pullback is SMR. So NewScale Power. Very interesting name. You guys can see we have a measured move. We can find buyers around these levels, right? Across the moving averages, you have good confluence there, but I wouldn't be surprised if it also tests the 200 moving average as well. So good levels for SMR to maybe find buyers to step in, okay? So interesting levels for SMR. If you wanted to get into nuclear, this could be very interesting moving forward. All right, Target. Target is has had a horrible past couple of years here. I mean, from the peak Target COVID era, look how much it's pulled back, guys. Now, even though Target's been pulling back, I do believe within the next 5 years, it can actually outperform the markets because it's just so undervalued at this point. Yes, it can keep going lower. If you want a better in-class name, Costco or Walmart could definitely be a better name. But look at the monthly moving average, guys. Every time Target reached the monthly moving average, guess what happened? It signaled a low. So with Target, this makes sense for you to maybe have a starter position in a company that, every time it reached the monthly moving averages, the 200 monthly moving average is signaled a low in its history, right? So you take a look at Target's dividend as well. If you're holding this company, you have a 4% dividend yield. That is a great, in my opinion, risk to reward. Okay, so keep a lookout. Could be a very interesting play. UNH, same thing with Target. Monthly moving average, signal to bottom. So keep a lookout. It can still go lower. It can pierce through to 187, right? You have some pivot lows down here at 207. Can make one more lower, but UNH every time reached a low. Okay? Let's keep going. Visa. I think Visa is a good name here. It's on a 200 moving average, so it can be a decent buy. Right? Just missed the 618 level here. So if you wanted a great name for Visa, you can't go wrong with Visa with a nice pullback here, okay? So keep a lookout. I do think Visa has a chance to reach at least 400s in the future. And finally, same thing with Walmart. Walmart's a great name. It's pulling back. It's pulling back to the moving averages, right into support. So if you never got into Walmart, if you wanted Walmart for the first time in your portfolio, this could be the starter position you're looking for on an uptrend. Okay, and if it drops deeper, you have the weekly moving average to add your second position. Okay, so you have a nice tranche buy there, you have a nice tranche buy there. You should be good to go for a long time. You can add on every month, every week, every quarter, whatever cadence that you want. But overall, you want a best-in-class name, look for Walmart. So that concludes the pullbacks. Let's go over the final section, which are the earnings beats companies. So the first one is ASML, guys. You guys know ASML is a monopoly in one of the semiconductor designs, right? Design processes. It's on the 200 moving average. Every time it's sort of hovered around there, again, reached a low. So could have a starter position on ASML, right? American Express. I think American Express is a great name. So same thing with sort of Visa. It is at the moving averages. Could be a starter position here. You zoom out to the weekly. If it does sort of a dip, you buy there as well. So two positions I think would be a very good proposition. Great earnings speed, amazing company for the future. You have American Express trying to reach 351, 391 in the fiscal year. Okay, so possible 16 to 27%, guys, well above the CAGR for the S&P 500. You're going to beat the S&P 500. For DHI, you guys know for the Discord group, we're in from the lows for DHI. Home builders. We mentioned in Discord, we got right in the lows. Look how amazing our call has been. So again, guys, every trade that you see, every entries, everything, all this is every single day in Discord. You got to come join, guys. You're leaving so much money off the table by not joining. Duolingo, on the weekly moving averages. This is a great starter position. Don't be scared. If it drops, it drops. Okay? Nothing you can do about it. You can rebalance your portfolios in the next fiscal year. Don't do it, try to hold this for at least 12 months. Rebalance every year. Okay? For Google, we're in Google. We're in the lows. We're looking for Google to break to all-time highs here to 223, 249. Okay? Right now, probably not the best time to buy it. We like a little bit more of a dip, okay, on the moving averages, and then you can buy it. But for right now, probably not the best. JP Morgan, same thing. It's too extended. JP Morgan's a best in class. I only like best in class. I'll look for a more of a dip in the future. Netflix. Netflix is the best in class content creator alongside Disney. So you should get into best in class. Netflix, moving averages, you have the 200, you have the moving average starter position. We mentioned this over and over again to buy Netflix here for a starter position. Okay. PepsiCo. Same thing with Coca-Cola. You're looking for PepsiCo to essentially call this a low, be a hedge against volatility coming up in September. I think that it's going to sort of accumulate and then try to push up, yeah? So this will turn into an inverse head and shoulders in the future. All right, so still a lot of time to get in if you wanted to get in. PayPal. PayPal is not the name for me personally. I think PayPal is going to do well in the future, but I think can it be the market? Can it beat the markets? Yes. I think in a year can turn maybe a 12-15% gain. But for me, I'm not a PayPal user. I like going into companies that I use. Right? So you're looking at possibly, if it does break down 39, or if it can hold these prices, you're looking for 104 to 121 within the year. Okay, how much is that? 50. It can turn into a 55% winner in the future, yeah, in a year. So interesting. Reddit, you guys know Reddit is my darling. I mentioned in Discord, right? We told buy here, buy here. Look at how much it went up. I mean, we're looking for Reddit to continue to hold and continue to extend higher to 220 to 266 and 323. I mentioned here, guys, right? You're probably never going to see Reddit lower again. And look at this extension higher, right? We're going to keep going higher. For Rocket, again, same thing with Discord. We got in from the lows. I mentioned anything home builder, real estate, anything home related, you got to get in. Rocket companies absolutely killed it for us. Up 60% already in just a few months. A lot of people didn't believe us in Discord. A lot of people did not believe us. But we mentioned, look, home builders at the low, you got to buy anything home related. Rocket companies was the first name. Okay? We're going to keep calling it higher. TMDX, same thing. We mentioned, buy here. Buy here at 70. You're never going to see TMDX lower again. And look at that. We extended almost 100%. We mentioned again, buy here with the moving average pull down. Again, we reacted. You got to come join, guys. And then finally, TSM. One of the best names. However, I want a little bit more consolidation. I think it's still a little bit early. We want to wait for these moving averages to a little bit, catch up to price. You can have a starter position and buy lower on the weekly moving averages if it does break down a little bit. But TSM, I mean, it's one of the best companies in the world, guys. You can't go wrong with them. Okay? So that concludes it, guys. Again, come join Discord. You get the swing trade ideas, the day trade ideas, long-term ideas, swing trade signals, so you know exactly when I get in and get out. Wheel options, 100x baggers. This is where we have the next 100x bagger stocks ready to go for you. So come join. You get all that access. Every single day, I post the updates across multiple different stocks that you guys can see, so you know exactly what's going to happen, like Netflix, what's going to happen with Nike, et cetera, okay? So, yeah, you're going to make so much money with us, guys. 2,000 plus members. Talk to you guys soon. Have a great rest of your Monday.